Got 50. Oh. So I like to say every year in business, and I'm a very sports acclimated guy, right? So every year in business is like winning a championship. So, your second year in, your third year in, I mean, I see you show a lot of appreciation for that. You do pop a bottle, right? Celebrate, hey, another year in business, because it's really a monumental task to continue under the same name, same phone number, right? Same company, corporation name, where a lot of people can't do that.
Today is going to be a really cool episode because we have a legend in our industry. Florida Concrete Limited has been at the helm of the Goff family for 50 years now.
50 years.
And Jason Goff recently took over the wheel. How long has it been now? 15 years? 10 years?
Yeah, it's been probably 15 years.
And I say recently because over 15 years is like...
It's a drop in the bucket. Right?
It's drop in the bucket. So I think that it's incredible what you've done, and we're just going to talk about your story and really what makes Jason Goff and your family and Florida Concrete Limited really set apart in this industry, because I think that there's a lot of things that you guys do that I think that a lot of companies lack. Right. So first of all, what do you think about the concrete industry itself? Because it's kind of like out of all the divisions in concrete, I mean construction, concrete is like, I would say, like the craziest division that you could be in.
So I call it the Wild Wild West, because it's really what it is. There's a lot of gunslingers out there. There's a lot of people that compete in the market. There's not so many people that compete at our level in the market, right? But there's a lot of competition to do similar things that we do. So it's tough because we don't have a lot of competition on these high profile projects. But we have a lot of competition at the smaller projects. It could be a Walgreens, it could be a CVS, smaller projects like that where everybody wants to compete at that level, or maybe there's a GC that doesn't know any better and takes a risk on somebody because they can save 10 cents.
Yeah. So what Jason Goff does is he essentially pours the concrete, pumps the concrete, and finishes the concrete. So the concrete truck would arrive to someone's job site, and his pumps will be there. So if you ever see these big, skeleton-looking things,
articulating booms
over the job site, pouring this concrete. That's what FCU, Florida Concrete Limited, does. How did you even get into construction, or how did you even get into that industry? Where you feel like you're just born into it, like
I mean, I really was, right? So I'm second generation, right? Blue collar business owners, I like to say. My dad started the company in 1974, so we're 50 years this year.
Wait, hold on. Is that why your shirt says got 50?
Yeah, got 50.
Oh.
So I like to say every year in business, I'm a very sports acclimated guy, right? So every year in business is like winning a championship. So, your second year in, your third year in, I mean, I see you show a lot of appreciation for that. You do pop a bottle, right? Celebrate, hey, another year in business, because it's really a monumental task to continue under the same name, same phone number, right? Same company, corporation name, where a lot of people can't do that. So for us, it's important. And we say got 50 because when we're competing against these other people.
Yeah, you got 50 years?
Do you have 50 years, though? Do you got 50?
I get goosebumps. I feel like we're gonna run through a wall right now. What do you love the most about what you do, Jason?
The fact that it's a family business is very personal to me. A lot of people say, hey, it's business. It's not personal. It is personal, right? And I think a lot of business owners understand that really well. But as a manager or as an employee, it's hard to understand that it really is personal, because I take a personal responsibility to the employees, a personal responsibility to my family, right, to make sure they're taken care of, and I have a great family, so I want to support them the best I can, and can kind of continue the legacy, right? But as far as getting into the business, I was born into it. My dad didn't want to do it, really, right? He wanted to be a fireman. He fell into finishing concrete because he dropped out of high school. So it was one of those things where he never thought hey, we're going to build an empire or a concrete dynasty. He just wanted to feed his family. And that evolved into what it is today. So I got into it because, kind of through just being there, right? Being in the house, because that's where the office was. Being in the field, being in the jobs, because I could either go to summer school or I can go pour concrete. Wow. And every year I changed my mind.
You did?
Every year it got hotter. And the work got a little tougher.
So he essentially started what, as a finisher? How did he even get into the industry?
Yeah, so a lot of people look at Florida Concrete as a big pump company, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we are, right? We do a lot of pumping, but we're really tradesmen, craftsmen, concrete finishers, which a lot of other people, competitors of ours, try to mimic that, right? But it's hard to go from a pumper to become a craftsman, but you can go from a craftsman and learn how to pump concrete. So he started as a tradesman, as a finisher, was in the union, didn't have very much success with the union, essentially left his employer because he didn't get paid his overtime. So he poured a 7,000 square foot slab at Dade Junior College, and it was only him and 2 other guys. 5 guys didn't show up.
Shit, that was a big pour.
That was a big. Well, look, I mean, today you'd put 10 guys on that, right? So he was only going to pour it with 8 guys or 7 guys, and 5 of them didn't show up. And then the owner of the company didn't pay him his overtime. And it was like 2 hours, but for him it was important, right? So he told the guy, hey, you're missing my overtime. And he said, hey, kid, you're lucky to have a job. And he looked at him and said, you're going to work for me one day. And 5 years later, he came to work for him.
What do you think is the toughest part of this industry? Of your industry, particularly?
I think in all industries, not just mine, is people. How do you keep continuity with your employees? How do you keep everybody happy? I think part of being a business owner is like you got to be the HR director too, right? Like we joke all the time, you get a couch in your office because they got to sit down and you got to talk to them and talk through their problems, because I think even though we're not perfect, right? A lot of people look up to business owners and kind of, hey, what would you do?
Yeah. The reason I asked you is because in that moment, that guy that was your dad's boss had the opportunity to say, hey, I appreciate you showing up when the other people didn't.
Right, here's your overtime.
Here's your overtime. And that guy made the decision to say, and he didn't realize that the most challenging part of our job is people.
It is.
And I've learned that over 9 years. We were talking about before the podcast with Maria, our office manager. We were talking about, I didn't realize that at the beginning. I took advantage of the people we had and the good people we had, because I thought that they were completely, and everybody's replaceable. But the reality is that sometimes they're really not. At least the good ones aren't. And you build this culture off people, and then you have people like your dad that actually show up. Those are the people you have to love and serve the most, And I feel that it's a big challenge, because in our industry, sometimes when there's 30, 40 guys on a job or even more, it's hard to pick. It's
very hard. And it's hard. It's really hard to have a personal relationship with those guys, with everybody. I mean, we have over 200 employees, and it is really hard, right? I mean, I had a situation today where the office manager came in my office, and one of the employees wanted to talk to me, and I kind of took a step back because he wrote her, and was like, I've worked for Jason for 2 years. I've never had a one-on-one conversation, and I really just want a one-on-one conversation of what his plans would be for me to grow with the company. And I said, fuck. How did I miss that, right? How did I not see the value in somebody like that? Or maybe I saw the value,
and you were just busy that day.
You get busy, right? And you overlook it. So I said, let's talk tomorrow.
That's cool.
How
do you think, as a kid, seeing you being, just a kid, you're a wrestler, right? Wrestler kid, growing up in Miami-Dade, and your dad's running this business. How did it feel as a kid to be in this industry 30 years ago? I've only been in this industry for 15, maybe 20 years, but I feel like you were really in this industry when this industry was like...
It was raw.
It was raw.
Right. It was very different.
How was that?
it was more it was more wild wild west than it is today, right? So my dad, would get in an argument, right, in the 80s, and it would be resolved by a fist fight. And it would be okay for both parties.
Yeah, that's it. We're gonna fight. We're gonna fight this out,
right? And basically, like, we'll talk after, but we're gonna fight first.
That's crazy.
And that's that doesn't exist today, obviously, right? Now it's like, oh, that's assault. You touched me. Now it's assault, right? And it's like, and so it's a different time, right? And it's a I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's hard to put into words what it was like going through that, because I spent so much time as a kid in the field. Like today, for example, I took my kids to a meeting for a 10,000-yard map board. There's like 30 people in the room.
How old are your kids?
11. Triplets that are 11, and I have a daughter that's 14. The triplets are 2 boys and a girl. So I take the boys, and it's their second meeting, map board meeting, in 48 hours. The other one's for 7,000 yards. So I take them, and a couple of the people that have been around forever, right, said, I remember when you were that age, and these guys are in their 70s, almost pushing 80. I remember when you were that age, and in a couple of years you were bringing the pump to my job and everything, and I like that I get to expose them to that, but it's so different today, because like that specific job, I couldn't take them on, right? Like safety was too crazy, and it was too chaotic of a job site to bring them on. Where my dad was like, "You're coming. This is my kid. He's coming with me.
Yeah, he's coming with you.
Yeah, he's gonna lay block. He's gonna catch edges. He's gonna run the remote, because I don't have anybody else to run the remote."
It's crazy.
I mean, he has pictures of me, 11, 12 years old at Miami International Airport running the boom because his operator didn't show up. So it's so different then, because I was okay. And I'm wearing like my football jersey because we just got done with like a football game,
Hey, Jason, you're gonna go pour concrete today.
He actually he got me out of school after I had my license in car when I was like 17 years old, because he had to fire an operator from a job. So the school calls, "Hey, you got to go home," or whatever, right? And I get my car and find out. My dad says, "No, you got to go to this job." Dad, I got shorts on. He goes, "Oh, I'm sending you pants."
That's crazy, Jason. What do you think your dad? Well, first of all, take a sip, because your ice is melting over there. Yeah. What do you think your dad thinks about everything that you're doing right now? With that kid in shorts, in a football jersey, being called down to be excused from school to go run a pump, now running, I would say, one of the largest pumping companies in the United States, I would at this point say.
Yeah, at least the Southeast, yeah.
Southeast. What do you think he says, or what do you think he feels about everything that you're doing?
It's hard to say, because he's not really an emotional guy, right? He's not real expressive with words like that. I know he's proud. I know he thought I was going to be a lawyer, because that's what he wanted me to be, right? Or a doctor. And I think any person from that generation that goes through the trials and tribulations that he went through to get where he got wanted better for their kid. What he didn't realize was allowing me to come into the company was better for me than anything else. And I think it took some time for him to figure that out. So right when I got out of high school, I was still working for the company, but I became a fireman. Right?
So you went to fire?
Yeah, I became a fireman.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I got hired at 19 years old with Pembroke Pines Fire Rescue. And it was like a box that I had to check on my own, right? And it was something I felt I had accomplished, because that's what my dad wanted to do. And I spent 5 years in the fire department. And doing both, it was just too much, right? So because you have 24 on, 48 off. So the 48 off was not off. Yeah, it was out Florida Concrete, right? We're pouring concrete every day. So, the 100 hours a week just got too much. And then as I gained more responsibility in the company, I said, I can't do both.
It was important to you, though.
It was important, and I didn't want to quit. I'm sorry. My dad didn't want me to quit. I wanted to quit. So we argued about it, and I just quit, because I knew I had more value at Florida Concrete than I did at the fire department.
That's crazy, because, when I was growing, my dad's a jeweler. My dad, and I wish people can really understand what my dad really does, because my dad's essentially a blacksmith. You tell him right now, you want to buy your wife a ring, you go to Mayer's and it costs $100,000, and you say, listen, this is the ring I want. I need you to make it. And he will carve it out of wax.
No way.
Turn it into gold. He'll carve it, literally. He carves it out of wax, melts it, welds it, put it together, and he'll make you a ring where Mayer's will sell it to you for $100,000, he'll sell it to you for $30,000. He is the most particular, most detailed. I can't even explain who he is. And I used to tell him, I want you to show me what you do. I want you to teach me what you do. And he was so committed to not teaching me so that I would go to school. Like, I feel like
right. It's true.
And I don't know if maybe if he needed me, maybe the situation would be different than what than your story. But I always wanted to be a jeweler. Yeah. And he was really committed for me not taking over his business, because he's a business owner. He still works.
Right.
He's 75 years old. He started as a business owner when he was 16 years old.
Right.
He's one of the oldest. He is the oldest jeweler in the Seabold building right now.
Really?
Yep. He's the oldest jeweler that building has.
I feel like I should have known this before I got my wife's last ring, by the way.
How many years are you guys married?
15 years.
Oh, perfect. For 20 years, she can have the 10-carat diamond that she's been looking for. But I think it's so impressive because I don't know if your dad really wanted you to go into Florida Concrete Unlimited. I feel like he almost needed you to do it.
I don't think he realized it, right?
Yeah, I don't think he realized it.
I don't think he realized how important the business had become to people, right? Like, when you create a business, right, you're filling a need, right? There's a value that people rely on you, and then it becomes a bigger value for me that the employees are relying on you, right? So I don't think he realized that he needed me, but at the same time, he wasn't a big look ahead guy, right? He's never looking ahead 10 years.
He's always reactive.
Reactive. Hey, this is a problem, we're fixing it.
Yeah.
That's a problem, we're fixing it. I think he would have sold the company if I didn't get involved, and I wanted to stay a fireman. And we had that opportunity in 2006, or he had that opportunity in 2006. I was already at the company for 7 years, and man, I just about talked him out of it. Did everything I could to talk him out of it. And I think, until maybe the last 10 years, he was like, "Shit, we should have sold the company." Because especially when we went to the recession. So there's two things I think helped with not selling. One, if we sold, the closing would happen in like early 2007. We'd have probably bought a lot of real estate. Then that real estate would have crashed in 2008, right?
Yeah.
So we felt like it was a blessing in disguise.
You would have lost everything.
We could have lost everything. And maybe working for somebody or starting over, So yeah, I think
everything works out for the
everything
right
works
reason.
out for the right reason.
When you started, when you really felt like, hey, I have a voice in what we're doing here, what was the first thing that you wanted to improve in the business?
I personally like sales, right? Obviously, you can't sell all day, every day, right? Not running a business. But my favorite part of the business is interacting with people, getting to know people, providing that comfort level, having them feel like they're using Jason and not using Florida Concrete, right? Even though Florida Concrete is such an important brand to me and to our clients, I feel like I want them to say or feel like we're calling Jason because they have that relationship with me.
I feel like that's what we do here.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like when people, I always say, they say, how do you know you're being successful? And I said, when someone has a construction need, they have to think of Oscar Morejon.
Right.
And it's not like this, no, it's just that this is who we are. Like this,
right.
Like it's like 200 years ago when you needed something, you went to that guy.
Right.
And when I need, pumping, I think of Jason. And when you think of concrete, when we think of construction, you think of Oscar. It's just something that, I guess it's because it's so much of who we really are that we want for people to really almost identify us by that. Like, this is...
It's awesome.
Like, this is my this is my life,
right. I tell you, man, we've known each other for a little while now, and I can't tell you how proud I am of you and the company and how far you've come with John Bell and even starting this podcast. It's kind of beyond my imagination, you know what I mean? And I think it's awesome.
I think it's It's beyond my imagination too. To be honest with you, I
Living the dream.
yeah, living in the dream. You know, I was
Because you cut the ponytail.
yeah, I had a ponytail.
Yeah.
And I had to cut it. I didn't have enough muscles to rock that look. I was an intern at Suffolk, and I remember I loved working at Suffolk, and I loved the culture we had there, but I also realized that there wasn't enough good companies out there
Right.
providing the same service that back in the day Suffolk was providing, and even Coast. Like there's not a lot of good GCs in the city, and
Well, especially in the space you're in now, right? There's not, like we talked about outside. You're at a level now, right, where you're not here. You're not at Coastal Moss level, right? But you're in that niche that there's not a lot of competition, right? And then the competition that's there is like striving to like get to the top. And it's like, do you want to get to the top and make 2% or 3%, right? Or do you want to stay in here and be a 10% guy? Mm-hmm. I'm more of a let's be a 10% guy.
It's tough. It's a tough fit.
And have more access to
It's
the
tough
jobs
because
we want to do instead of jobs we have to do.
It's tough for me because we have almost. You have a lot of repeat business.
Right.
We have no repeat business.
Right.
So it's very hard for me.
It's a lot of one and done.
It's a lot of one-on-one done. And my client, I may get the client every 10 years or 15 years. You might get them every 3-4 days.
Right.
So it's the sales cycle is long, and the next sales cycle is even longer. And so it's hard to maintain the business at like, hey, we want to get to $40 million every single year. We want to maintain it. It's such a sweet spot. But in our industry, it's like we almost have to keep growing to not die.
Right.
And it kind of sucks, to be honest with you, because as you grow, you have to hire more people. You have to constantly change the way you're doing things. You have to change the procedures. You have to hire new people. You have to keep your culture has to be so embedded in really who you are that 2 or 3 new people cannot change who this company is.
Correct.
And that's one of the biggest challenges that I face is that I want to continue to grow, but I also want to provide the same service. I want people to be hiring Oscar, and I want for people to feel that, that they're hiring a small business that's really just grinding it out, because at the reality,
That's what it's all about.
that's what it's about. So it's definitely a tough industry, and I think there's not a lot of good people.
If you're not, Miami's a very robust, strong market, right? It's been growing a lot the last 10 years. Thank God. Really, I would say since 13, it's just kind of been, on an upward spike. So if you're not growing with the market, you're shrinking in business, right? And there's a few companies, older companies that compete with us just on the pumping level, right? And the guys retired, so their business didn't grow. They stayed the same, and their revenue stayed the same.
But they're dying.
But they're dying.
It's crazy
because the market exploded. So if you're not growing with the market, you're shrinking.
No, the construction industry in itself is very difficult to be able to maintain, because it's almost like you're running a marathon, you're sprinting a marathon,
Right?
And you can't stop. And when you kind of slow down, you may not feel it today, but you'll feel it like in 3 or 4 months. And it's crazy, and it's something that really affects my family, affects my wife, it affects my son. This podcast, I didn't put my kid to sleep tonight.
Right.
So there's a lot of sacrifices that our company makes, but it bleeds into our family. What do you think your wife and your 4 kids think about our industry?
So, first of all, I have a great wife, right?
You do.
A lot of people say
She has a lot of patience.
Tons of patience. A lot of people say, well, it depends what time you talk to her. A lot of people say, I have a great wife, but when I say it, I genuinely mean it. And what I mean by that is, man, she is such a great mother, and she is such a backbone in our family. Because for me to do what I do every day, right, and have great kids, it takes a lot of time and effort to the kids, right? So, a lot of times we'll be out. I'll be out of the house or at a networking event or doing something or taking guys to a fishing tournament or whatever I'm doing.
What's she working?
And she's holding the house down, right? Because it's a lot to hold down with 4 kids, especially with homework and sports and all that.
3 kids at the same time.
Yeah, 3 kids at the same time alone. First of all, the fact that she's like 115 pounds
And she had triplets?
And had triplets and carried them for 37 weeks is nuts, right? But, man, she's just been such kind of a backbone.
I met her one day. Where did we go? Sushi Saki?
No, I went to P.F. Chang's.
P.F. Chang's. And that day I realized that she was a badass.
She is.
She really is. She is it takes. They always say that it's not the husband that's the whatever you think it is. It's the wife that supports him. Because today right before the podcast I went over there and I showered. My son I don't know what was happening. I felt like he drank like a Cuban coffee or something, and I was getting dressed and I was getting anxiety, and she was just like nonchalant, like if it was like it was just and I like an hour ago I was like. I told him, like, man, I honestly, I really give it to you because we're trying to potty train him.
Right, it's tough.
Today we went from a crib or we took off the crib and now he's on the toddler bed. Yeah, so he thought he thought he should take a nap on the rug, instead of in his bed. And it really takes a strong wife and a strong family to be able to do what we do. But I love it. I couldn't imagine it any other different way. And I love bringing Jack to the job sites. And yesterday I saw your office manager posting a picture on Instagram that one of your sons was taking notes from the 7,000 yard.
So that was this morning actually, and it was great.
How do you feel about your kids? Do you feel that? Do you feel like you have? Because I feel like not that I have a commitment for him to take over the company. I want him to do exactly what he wants to do. I don't want him to be the next president of this company. I just want him to know what hard work is, and I want him to know what it is to lead a family,
right?
And to love the Lord and to do everything that he needs to do to really be a good person and to be a good husband. Is that what? Do you feel like you're trying to pass the baton? Do you ever get worried like who's going to take Florida Concrete in the next 20 years?
It's crazy. Right now I don't, because my dad didn't ever have a plan for me to take over the business. I have a plan for the boys, and it's only because the boys are showing interest. One shows interest more than the other, but it's not because I feel he's interested more. It's because he likes operations. So he's like into the yard and being in the pumps and pressure washing and working hard. I mean, he works hard. Like he wants to work outside around the house. Where the other one is very intellectual, right? Just school, like for him, just boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, came out like his mom.
I mean, it's exact for sure, because I was not a good student. He's very, 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 very smart kid. So he likes, the administration side more. They're only 11. But when they're 8 and I realize they're showing interest, I wrote a career path for them.
That's crazy.
Right? So I wrote, because college has changed. Now, let's face it. My dad was a high school dropout. I did a year and a half of college. To this day, I don't know what I got out of it. You know what I mean? Because I'm not going to construction management, right? We're a specialty contractor. There's no special degree for a specialty contractor, right? There's nothing like that. I learned more with my dad and in the field, learning the trades, than anywhere else. And I had to learn, because that's how it was. You had to learn every single job at that company. And my boys are really doing the same thing. Now, what I see is I want them to be better than me. So I wrote a career path, which is 60 months, longer than college, no breaks, right? There's no Christmas break. They're not coming home for the summer, right? And it's basically internships with GCs, with Alex Barthet. He doesn't know about that yet, though. Just learning
We'll take them.
Every trade about our business and what makes it tick and how to be better than me. Because really, you want them to be better than you. That's your goal.
That's the goal.
You always want your kids to be better than you.
Yeah, because I don't know about you, but I feel like, not that I fall short, but I feel like they can do so much better than what we're doing, And I feel that people say, "Oh, you're doing the podcast and you're doing all this." Yeah, it's.
There's always another level, man.
There's somebody's always better than you. There's always somebody working harder than you, somebody working earlier than you, somebody working out harder than you, somebody staying up later than you. There's always somebody grinding harder than you. And
who better than your kid?
Yeah, who better than your kid? How do you manage the dad husband role in your whole?
It's tough. I think it's tough for any dad, and in any trade. I'm fortunate, right, that I can pretty much come and go as I need, But I'm still so dedicated to the business, right, that I could be at my desk for hours and I feel like it's never enough. I could be there at 6 o'clock in the morning and leave at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night, and I feel like I'm days behind, right? It's funny, people are like, man, you went on vacation, you're so far behind. I'm like, I was just as far behind when I left. I just come to terms after so many years, like, I might not get caught up, right? So I might feel I have enough of the major tasks checked off the box, but you might never get caught up.
Do you have a list, Jason, of the things you need to do?
So one thing I learned from my dad, I'm teaching my kids, right? And everyone's got iPads and all this fancy shit, right? Just notepads. Like we get order boxes of notepads. Now they say FCU, they're not yellow tablets, right? But you just say, you better have a yellow tablet. You go to that meeting, you better have a yellow tablet. And so I kind of ingrained that in them. Because she said the kid taking notes today. So I was proud of him because...
I was talking to him yesterday, and I was like, I don't know, I can't explain to you how I felt, but he seemed so focused.
Super. Listen, there's
like he was driving.
Yeah,
he wasn't. He was in the passenger seat, but he was in the car, and he was there like.
Oh yeah. Oh, the one that Jen posted. Yeah. So he was like recreating his notes from the meeting.
This kid's 11 years old.
Yeah, from the meeting on Tuesday.
He could have been playing Velo games. He could have been,
So today he takes notes. There's like 30, 40 people in the room, right? And the President Moriarty was there because the President Moriarty was like...
Leet was there?
Yeah, Leet was there, and he goes, that's your fucking kid? I mean, he looks just like me too, right?
Yeah.
And he's taking notes, right?
At least it looks like you.
So then Fernando, which is one of their general superintendents, has been there a long time, that I've actually known since 04. We've been working
He's a great guy.
Since 04. He says...
I love Fernando.
He starts asking questions to everybody, right? And he looks at Jake because Jake's engaged. And he goes, Jake, you got any questions? He goes, nobody said how many yards an hour this pour is going to be.
You're kidding me.
And I went, fuck, he's right. And it was like a proud dad moment. And everyone went, damn, how old is he? I need his resume after this.
I can only imagine how the energy in that room. What do you think sets Florida Concrete apart from the other pumpers? How many pumpers do you think that pump, place, and finish concrete in South Florida?
At our level?
At our level in the Southeast. It's not even South Florida because you're, every day I see you going to another city.
So we're in Fort Myers, we're in Tampa, and we just started Jacksonville, and we're kind of moving up the East Coast right now, Melbourne area, Vero. So there's a lot of competitors, right? But I feel what really sets us apart is our dedication to craftsmanship with place finish, because the competitors that place and finish, that also pump, really want to pump the concrete.
Yeah, they just want to pump as much as you can.
We want to finish.
We got to try to, in this podcast, we got to try to incorporate that shot of them really finishing that concrete. Because one thing is just to put it in the back of the hopper and the concrete just land there. But
yeah, anybody can do that, right? So, I mean, when you're an operator, and listen, I was an operator for a long time, and I don't want to discredit any operators, right? But when you're an operator, until shit hits the fan, right, you're getting hot concrete or there's problems or a pump breaks down, you're flipping buttons. When you're placing and finishing concrete, you're balls to the wall the whole time.
No, we had a Felipe and Dan Diaz on episode 16, and
great guys,
amazing, and we talk about how when the concrete is pumping and the concrete is going, it's like mission critical every single time.
No, there's no timeouts.
You can't stop.
Doesn't we've had clients, right, like PMs in the office, in GC's office, like, hey, you didn't take a lunch break. Like, why are you charging me 8 hours straight? You want me to take a lunch break? You're gonna throw away all your concrete.
Who said that?
Oh, well, I don't want to name you. I don't want to name you names. They don't work for John Bell.
Yeah, they're gonna work here that much time. One thing that it's really important because let's say you are a good student. You're a good student, like you're good. You're
Jason.
Jason.
He's not a junior.
Huh?
He's not a junior. We have different middle names.
Oh, that's fine, but he's a Jason. He's Jason. He's his own person.
Correct.
So Jason Goff, the second, is a smart kid. Maybe he goes into college. He does great in high school, goes great into college. Do you think that the concrete industry is worth pursuing for somebody like him that's, you know, smart enough to know that this is a grind? Like,
I think when the kids get old enough, right? And I don't know when that happened for me. When the kids get old enough to look around and say, shit, my parents do well, or my parents have done well for themselves, I want that. That's when it kind of resonates.
I'm gonna tell you something. Not to interrupt you. Your dad had one. Can you imagine if your dad had two?
Two boys? Man, we'd be on fire.
I think you're on fire. Because can you imagine, you know, Jake out there, you know, running operations and Jason running this company? I think it's...
No, it's going to be a whole nother level.
It'll be crazy.
And
do you feel like they have the pressure? Like, I think they have the pressure. I think that's a stupid question. They definitely have the pressure to take over the company. How are you suppressing them from not feeling? This is important. This is like not a podcast, like, you know.
Yeah.
What are you doing as a dad to really, on a daily basis, to tell Jake and Jason, hey, I may take you to that job site, but
you don't have to do this.
You don't have to do this.
So this morning, right, I had to wake him up at 5 a.m.
Well, that's one way to tell him.
To go to this meeting, right? And I told them both, you don't have to go. And
do you feel like they authentically feel that you feel like that? Because one thing is,
I think
you're American. Cubans,
yeah, right.
They tell you don't have to go, and you're like, oh, he's telling me he has to go.
There's a secret meeting here.
Yeah, but Americans are different.
So they know there's not a secret meeting, but it's unique because the one that likes operations, which is Jake, he's an early riser. Jason likes to sleep in. So Jason, and he's got like a little lazy bone in him, right? So like Jason, I'll push because he needs to be pushed. But he loves going once he's there. But it's getting him there. Jake will be staring at me as I'm sleeping. Hey, it's 5 a.m. Dead serious. Boots on. Mud all through the hallway already.
How do you manage two boys? Obviously, you know, you have two other kids. How do you manage 4 kids that are very different?
It's crazy because the triplets are so different. I mean, they couldn't be any different. If I like created their personality, I couldn't have created them any different, you know. And Emma, which is the youngest triplet, who was the smallest, almost preemie, which is bigger than both boys now, which the boys hate.
Yeah.
Which is great. She's just such like a free spirit. Like she's the happiest kid on earth. Yeah. There's nothing you can say to her that would like upset her. But she's also the most like respectful, thankful kid in our whole family.
Yeah, she's just like your mom, or like your
wife,
or your wife. Do you think your 4 kids realize that the Florida Concrete Unlimited to the world are like the backbone of the United States? Because it's a blue collar, it's a small business. At the end of the day, it's a family business. Do you think they really realize at this age that what they're doing is
important?
Is important?
And I don't think so, because I don't think their minds that developed yet, right? But I think they feel how important it is on the national level, right? Since I took them to World of Concrete.
Oh, that was a great experience, huh?
In February, and this is our 50th year. So I even drug my dad. My dad hasn't been to World of Concrete in like 10 years.
So wait, hold on. World of Concrete is a big deal.
It's the biggest concrete show in the country, and it happens every year. There's only one other big construction shows similar to World of Concrete, but that happens every 4 years, called the ConAg. And so I drag my dad and I surprise him with a 50-meter concrete pump for 50 years.
Hold on, that big. He never knew that was coming?
No, he never knew it was coming. Oh. And it's like, it was funny because he was upset. Like he's walking, like, you know, joking upset, but like, why am I the last to know? Why didn't anyone like tell me? Because that's how surprises work, you know?
Yeah, he wasn't ready for that.
But he was so excited that he was there with his grandkids and got to, you know, share that moment with them. And I think the boys realized like how important like our business is even on the national level.
Do you think did he show any emotion at that moment?
Yeah, man, I got to tell you, I don't think I've ever seen him cry, right? But I think he was damn close.
Yeah. It's hard to see those. I feel like people like my dad and people like your dad, I feel like, I don't know if they've ever cried enough or so much by themselves that they've almost ran out of tears, or they feel like they just can't. Like it's just not in them, because it's just the way that they were bred and the times that they were raised in. Like my dad was an orphan.
Oh wow.
You know, so he came from Cuba in a Peter Pan mission where they allowed kids to come.
I learned about that last week.
Really?
Yeah.
So Peter Pan kids came by themselves. The parents had to imagine you.
Yeah,
right now,
the kids off. Right.
President Biden goes into gets voted in, and he said, "You know what, Jake and Jason and my 2 girls, you guys got to go.
You're going to Ireland.
You're going to Ireland by yourself, and I may not see you again.
Right. But you could have a better life.
But you're gonna have a better life." Imagine how much those kids cried during those times that they've essentially exhausted all their tears for the rest of their life.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And
that's a crazy story.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I feel like it's almost like infallible. That I can never imagine Jack
putting him through that, or yeah.
And
but you would do it if you were in your dad's position, or if you were in your grandfather's position.
Yeah, and that's why I think that, even what's happening with the election now and everything that's coming up, it's so important. And I feel that even when I have a dad and a mom that have gone through communism, they've gone through everything,
right?
And they have a big Trump flag on their door, like they've gone through it. They've seen what that is, and
they've seen the worst of the worst.
It's just it's something that it makes you understand the things that some people don't understand, who my dad is or who my mom is and why they are, because they have a million defects, but right. you have to have a lot of forbearance on them because of the things that they've gone through. But essentially, if it wasn't for your dad calling you out of school in your shorts and your football shirt, and it wasn't for me asking my dad for a car and him buying me a pressure cleaner and saying, "I'm not going to buy you a car, I'm going to buy you a pressure cleaner." Right. And if you pressure clean enough sidewalks and driveways, you'll buy whatever car you want, including a Ferrari.
There's important life lessons, man.
We would never be here, So I think that, like they say, that tough times create strong men and weak times create weak men.
We're in that cycle.
And we're in that cycle. And to me, it's one of the biggest convictions that I have as a dad, that even if the things that we didn't have growing up, that our kids don't know about it, and that they grind through it so that they don't create weak men, because it's a dangerous cycle.
Well, I think when you're successful in business, it's really easy, or you make a little money, right? It's really easy to just give your kids what they want, because you want to give it to them, right? Because you want them to be happy. But you got to teach them how to appreciate the value of $1. And I think my wife and I have done a decent job. I'm probably worse than her, by the way. I mean, she's like, "You're not getting that shit, period. You can pay for it with your own money. Once you have enough money, you put a TV in your room." And she means it. There's a really fine line between giving them too much and allowing them to understand the value of $1. So the kids decided to create this summer a boat wash company. So we live on a lake. So they thought, "I'm going to create this company, right? And all this business is just going to come in because we're kids." So they sent out a mass email. I helped them make a video, which was like 87 takes because one of them couldn't stop laughing. And we sent out an email to the whole lake, and there's like 150 houses. And it's a nice lake, right? So these people have a little bit of money. They can afford to pay a $30 boat wash or whatever, especially to support some kids. I think they got like one response, and it was like, "Can you clean the bottom of the boat?" And it was like, well, in the email it said we don't clean bottoms of the boat.
Yeah.
Right? So Jake, who was his idea, he was like devastated. And he's like, "We got to send another email." So Jen tells him, "Hey, why don't you get door hangers and you go door to door?" So he went to the printing shop, Sergio's Printing, right across from us, and drove those people crazy enough that he just gave them 300 door hangers for free just so he would leave the office, No,
it's crazy because my dad said, "Look, I'm gonna get." He says, "You want a car? No problem. is what we're gonna do. He showed up the next day with a pressure cleaner. Put the pressure cleaner on my bed, the box. I never forget it. It felt like it was yesterday. He went to Sears. He bought a Craftsman pressure cleaner, put it on my bed, the box with the tape still on it. He couldn't even build it for me. And he says, and he put $25 on it. He says, the $25 is so you can build some business cards. And I still have the business card to today. And every time that I think about that story,
But it was a life lesson
it's a life lesson. I just don't know how I can relate that to
Jack.
And it's for me, it's the biggest thing. And he's only 2.5 now, but Isabella today told me she goes, he must think your company's incredibly large, because every single crane that's in Miami, he thinks it's yours. And I said, well, it's going to be mine one day, but today it's not. But let him believe it is, because when he takes over the company, every single one of those tire cranes is going to be ours.
Right.
And it's just crazy. I think some kids just want to be like their dad.
They do.
And I don't. It's really sensitive. It's sensitive. It's tough to accept that, because
It's a massive responsibility.
it's a big responsibility.
You gotta have a responsibility to be who your kids want or think you are. Right? And that's a huge responsibility.
And we almost have to
Right.
really change, because we're Jason Goff, the wrestler.
Right.
Hey, you want to go at it? We'll go at it. You
Right.
want me to pump? I'll pump. You want to take me out of school? I'll go do whatever you want to do. But you almost have this commitment to, that's who I was, but that's not who you also need to be.
Right.
But at the same time, also be humble enough and work hard enough to ask the question of how long is it going to take for us to pump every hour. It's like we're threading a needle right here, and it's tough. And I ask God every day to allow me to be a better husband, a better leader, a better father, and kind of juggle all the things we have, because it's not easy. And that's why this podcast exists.
Right.
Because I think that people like you have a story.
Right.
Your dad has a story. I think your kids have a story.
They're developing their own.
And then they're developing their own. And I think that hopefully, through podcasts like this, that people cannot, they don't just see, Jason Goff or Florida Concrete as the concrete,
Right.
pump, place, and finish company, but they also realize that it's a dad, and it's
Right.
a husband.
It's a family.
It's a family, and it's a company where, they love God, they love their country, and they also love a little bit of
Right.
Of things that really make them who they are. And I think that hopefully through this podcast, people can really realize who you are, because there's a lot of people, I'll be honest with you, in this industry that pump concrete.
Yeah.
You see them. They have an F-150 from 2001 with this old pump that's been painted 10 times, and they're out there pumping.
There.
And they do, honestly, they do a good job sometimes.
Right.
They do. You can't say that they don't do a good job.
Especially an owner-operator, right? There's nothing like
That guy's the guy.
owner-operator, right.
That guy's out there.
He's everything.
He's doing an incredible job.
Right. And he had the balls to do it.
He did. And but to be able to scale that is a different story.
That's hard.
That's what's hard.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that Florida Concrete Limited has done incredibly. I think that's something that that your dad started. But one of the main reasons that I wanted you to be on the show is because I feel that what was once kind of like the second option for your dad is the only option that you have right now. You're
Right. Right. It became my only option because I wanted it to be too, right? Like my dad started the company, which was probably the hardest thing that any generation will go through, right? Like you went through. What was unique for him is he didn't have a lot of support family, like really rough childhood, rough family, right? So when he started the company,
He wasn't really starting a company. He just
he just wanted to go make money. Right? I mean, he literally, there's a story of him selling his hat for a bowl of chili. Right? So he just wanted to figure out how to make money. And there's a lot of times that he sat there and cried and was going to join the military because he felt like that was his only out. That was his but he knew that that security blanket was there and he always had that option. So he just pushed forward and would push forward. But he grew the company, I mean, for being a high school dropout, to a great volume, right? Was doing $5 to $7 million a year. That's incredible, you know. Just to be a subcontractor, that's incredible. I mean, we're doing $35 million a year now. But I think he got to that point where he was like, I either need to bring somebody in so I can continue to enjoy my life and grow the company, or maybe Jason wants to get involved. And that was just the perfect timing where he was meeting his kind of peak, right? Where we just took the company together for a few years to the next level, and then I took it to another level.
I think that there's so many people watching this podcast that have, honestly, that want to start a company.
Right.
And I feel that we weren't, as a company, me and my wife, when we had just gotten married and we had $2,000 in the bank, I don't feel that our backs were up against the wall. But we made our backs feel like we're up against the wall, so we can have like that little bit of anxiety, that little bit of stress, that little bit of like uncomfortness. So we can.
You sold your house, didn't you? Moved in with your parents?
No, that's like the store. That's like when you play telephone.
Yeah.
No, so we're actually renting. We had rented our house. We couldn't afford our rent, and we actually moved out of the house we were renting. We lived with our pastor. So it's almost.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was kind of close. But we couldn't afford to buy a house. We hardly had a wedding.
Right.
And but those were the most difficult times of our entire life. And I feel like there's a lot of people watching that they want to start this company, but sometimes you almost have to don't have to feel like your dad that was like his back was up against the wall, right, that had to do it. Just do it. You know, like if it's something that you really feel compelled to do, just go ahead and do it, because this is what's going to happen. The next day passes, and the next day passes, and then the next day passes. And before you know it, you know, you're
out of time.
You're out of time. And I feel that, and you're not only out of time, you're out of energy. And
you've got to get comfortable being uncomfortable to start a business, I think, because every day is a new challenge. And I think even at our level, I face new challenges every day. Shit that I'm like, man, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
You know?
It's crazy. It's like I feel like the difficulty is just different. And I can't explain or expect for me to feel like how my dad felt as an orphan, or how your dad
right.
felt that day that he couldn't get the overtime, and he felt like, think about it, your dad, like he felt completely like bamboozled, you know, like
right.
You think I'm an idiot, you
right.
know, like
bait and switch,
you know, like he felt like well, I could do anything else. Like a lot
right.
of people are living really paycheck to paycheck, and that may be you. You know, you might feel like, hey, it's Thursday and I'm already overdrafting. But the biggest thing that I've realized out of this whole podcast is that there was a massive need for Florida Concrete Unlimited to pump concrete and to place it and to finish it. And a lot of people, they open companies and they open businesses with like this like fairy dust feeling. And
right.
And there's no need.
There's no need for it.
So, and I feel like, yeah, we're successful. We do a lot of things right. The reality is that we're not that smart, you know. We're not that special compared to. There's a lot of other good general
right.
contractors. In an episode where we had a bonus episode number 1 with Isabella, she says, "Do you think you're the best?" And I said, "Nah, I don't think I'm the best. Do I really feel that we're the best compared to everybody? Yeah, I think we're really good. I think we're the best in what we do. But are we the best general contractor in the city? No, I don't. I can't think that we really are. And I think it's stupid, to be honest with you.
We got to stay humble.
But I think that there's a massive need.
Right.
You know, now can you ask me, do you think that there's a lot of good GCs in the city? No, I don't think so. I think that there's probably like...
There's a lot of terrible ones.
There's a lot of bad ones. And there's a lot of like bad repertoire.
There's definitely more terrible ones than good ones.
What's crazy, Jason? There's also... You love wrestling, right?
Right.
How many bad wrestling schools are there out there?
No, tons.
Exactly. If you ask, Ron, hey, how many bad singers and rappers are there? How many bad rappers out there, Ron? Exactly. If you ask, Taylor, hey, how many bad people are like running social media? She's going to say a ton. So there's always bad people. There's always a need. If you can find the need and you can find how you can perfect it and set yourself apart, I'll be honest with you, it's the sky's the limit. And you don't always have to run a company. You can be able to be the best office manager. You can be the best intern. You can be the best superintendent. Just whatever you do, just try to be the best at it.
Right.
And just let the cards,
fall where they fall.
follow their fall. So, listen, I really appreciate you being here. I care a lot about you.
Absolutely.
I think you, your story as a family, as a company, is awesome. I think it's honorable. I really think. I think that I only have one kid. I can't imagine four, and I can't imagine three happening overnight.
And one going to high school now, so just getting more interesting.
You're gonna, you know, that gives me even more anxiety. You have a good team, and I think that the biggest thing is that you have a big heart for what it is. And I think that the Jakes and the Jasons of the world, and your daughters of the world, and your wife really make Florida Concrete Unlimited who they are. And I think that with you at the helm, I think that they're in good hands. And I really pray to God that that you really humble yourself and you prepare yourself to pass the baton to whoever it is, and also be okay with the baton just maybe just stopping. You know, you would never know.
They got to learn. You know, one thing's for sure, right? I think everybody, and I went through it myself, right? You, as much as your dad or your mom or whoever might tell you, hey, don't do that. That stove is hot. Sometimes you got to touch the stove, right? So I know that my kids will go through the same thing. So I pray for that. I can be patient. Then I'm like, God damn, I told you not to do that, because these are the results, you know? And I think my dad was patient with me for that, surprisingly, but he was. But those are the kinds of things that happen with the next gen, right? And hopefully we're off to the 4th gen, or we're a 100-year company.
Yeah. Well, listen.
And we got 100.
We definitely got 50, and I can't wait for one shirt. And
Absolutely.
And we're gonna be there. Me and my wife are gonna be there for your 50th anniversary, and we're. I think it's a testament for who you are. And at the beginning of the podcast, you talked about popping a champagne bottle. We popped a bottle of champagne out there for 9 years, and I don't think that bottle of champagne meant more to anybody than me.
Yeah, absolutely, bro.
So a lot of things we do selflessly, and there's a couple of things we do selflessly. So I hope that night is a selfish night for you and your dad, because I think that it's an important thing to celebrate, because the things that you've done don't really happen a lot.
Right.
So, well, listen, we appreciate you being part of the show. I hope you enjoy it. If you could do me a massive favor and subscribe, follow, share, comment at the bottom of it. Let us know how you think. If we did great, let us know. If we did bad, also let us know. We want to really know what you think, and we're doing this essentially for you, so you guys can be encouraged, motivated, and hopefully understand more about who we are, the things we do, and the things we care about. So, see you on the next one.